You are live.
Okay. So I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Ethics Committee of the Commission on Ethics and Lobbying in Government. Present we have Commissioners Caraballo and Austin, who are members of the committee, as well as Director of Ethics Sandy and Deputy Counsel Bob Capadia. We had an agenda which we're going to modify for the lateness of the hour. Our commission meeting went a little later than we anticipated. So for today's meeting, we're going to focus on item number 6, recommendations from the March 29th, 2023 public meeting, preparation for our full commission meeting on September. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the list of recommendations that came from that public meeting where the Ethics Committee was designated as the primary committee for review. I think we each have, so the first item was from Reinvent Albany, was review recommendations from the Campaign Legal Center, which showcase the best practices of other state ethics commissions regarding transparency and use of public data in its top 10 transparency upgrades.
And it's noted that many of the recommendations of the Campaign Legal Center are already either in full or partially in practice. They include a planned innovation, which we've already thought about. And one item is a statistical calculation that we can and will perform from CMS data. Essentially, we have reviewed the recommendations and we've considered them.
So our position is that we consider them, a couple of actually we've already placed in practice, and we'll continue to look at their recommendations.
Yes.
Okay. So that's staff's recommendation.
We accept the recommendation and with the acknowledgement that continuing work with regard to those provisions continues.
I guess we need a second from the second amendment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. They can't take down a nod.
The next item was to post candidate disclosures online on the commission website.
Staff believes this is would require a legislative fix, and it's noted that a bill was introduced in the prior session that would have this effect. My understanding is it did not pass.
Should we consider whether we want to make this part of our legislative?
I would think not. I would suggest not, and I would move to what's the correct phraseology? Deny this request.
But it requires a legislative fix.
Right, it requires a legislative fix.
We don't want to put it on there to consider.
You agreement?
No, I think it should be under consideration. We would like to let's put in our legislative agenda for consider things that we're considering. Not necessarily that we will do, but
I think one consideration is that, the number of candidates is much larger than the number of officials. And I believe there's a concern about the workload that would be involved in not only collecting the candidates' statements, but getting them online.
okay.
I think communications state it would not be a problem for them.
Oh, really? So
Just let me check that. I don't know.
Did you want me to weigh in on that? This is.
Yes.
Yeah, this was the one to get the candidates FDSs posted online.
yes,
Right.
Okay, so the communications committee looked at this and I talked to Melinda and we determined that for 2024, which is the first year this would come into play, it would be doable for those that were in the general election. They were going to be on the ballot in the general election, not the primaries. However, we do think it would create, you do need a legislative change, but we need someone from the legal team to look into that. That was what our recommendation was.
Thank you.
Right. So, you have a motion to that effect?
I move we refer the matter to the legal committee.
I'll second that.
The next item is
Require disclosure statements from candidates for statewide office for the legislature be posted on the COLA website. Is that the next one?
I think it's improve the financial disclosure.
Oh, yes, you're right. Improve the financial disclosure statement filing so that entries are readable and the location of disclosures is easy to find. The staff's response to that is that that would also require a statutory fix. The statement itself is written by the legislature. And so we don't think we can do it.
And just one note on that, because this was one we looked at too in the communications committee. It would require legislation to require them to be filed electronically, which I think is what that is also getting at, so that it would be, when they say legible, they mean that, the handwritten ones, sometimes they can't read in. So the fix to that would be a completely online system, which we don't think is, that would require a legislative change to do. And in terms of where they are on the website, they have their own tab under ethics. So, we do think they are present on our website, but as we look to prioritize information that's on the homepage and that's timely, we'll look to do that. And we have been using our social media channels to get the information out once they are posted with the direct link.
So I don't think we want to make a recommendation.
Right, I move to deny.
Second.
I second that. Same.
I think the communication, we're going to review what needs to be done. I mean, this is the same as, the next one is county filing should be made public available to the commission website. It's the same as the NIPERC recommendation, which we just discussed, and we said we'd refer it to the legal committee to discuss.
So we'll take that legal.
Next. Required disclosure statements from candidates for statewide office or the legislature to be posted on the COLA proposal from Rio Bed Albany. Did we do that already?
No, it's not. There are three that are related or that are similar.
That's really standard edition and
Requires a statutory fix.
I can't remember what communications talked about. It was the burden would be there.
Was that the statewide elected candidates?
Right. Statewide.
Yeah, so that's the same comment that I had previously. Could be doable for the general election for 2024, but we believe it may require a legislative fix, so referring it to legal to look into that.
Thanks.
I think we were
The next item is on on page 3.
Yeah, there.
Where we're primary, right? From the committees to form the state constitution. The committee staff of the Legislative Ethics Commission must be the entity that directly inquires with the legislator whenever a filing discloses interests that appear to be conflicting or appear to compromise independent judgment in the public interest.
Staff believes this is an idea that might be worthy of consideration, but we believe that it would require some type of either legislative or regulatory change.
So I guess we ought to take a look at it and find out what it actually would require.
We could.
Why should we be taking that away from legislative ethics? Isn't that a function that they've performed?
That is, we'll be redefining it.
Right. We've got enough to do. I move to deny.
Second, yeah, second.
I don't have a second on that. I think we should put it in and fit it right in.
Hold on to that.
Again, put it into the minutes of things we're looking at without definitively saying we are going to take it on, but just look at it.
All right.
All right, the next time, local law school, the Bar Association appoint agency ethics officers.
So this would require legislation to implement. It says here staff takes no position, but I personally would oppose this. I don't think law school deans have the knowledge necessary to know who would be a good ethics officer at any particular agency, and it just seems unworkable.
Reacted too much to politics. So I move to deny.
I second.
Well, okay, so we'll deny. Okay. I'll take a vote if you're seconding. Well, you might only be seconding it to make it come up for a vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
Next was require commission approval of all advisory opinion requests regarding agency head, statewide elected officials.
We did this already.
We've already,
It's a resolution.
right.
Right, resolution 0302.
That was already.
What number is that today?
Doesn't have, I don't really have numbers on them.
From the legal meeting this morning.
Oh,
Oh, what, well, it was decided before. So.
I'm not sure which number it was on this.
It's the sixth one down on page 3.
Yeah, number 6. Is the sixth one on the first page?
Page 3 of 8.
Right, we already,
We're doing numbers, so I'm looking at the legal with number 6 on
and
the.
the answer to that was, it was already done. So
Right,
that,
yeah.
so
Same answer.
move to deny is moot.
Next one, commissioners are conflicted, both those who are former judges who benefit from unlawful judicial salary increase and those who will now be receiving per diem allowances. They are measured according to the unlawfully raised salaries of Supreme Court justices.
I move to accept the staff's recommendation, deny, whichever, however we want to say it.
The
Second,
commissioners are conflicted, one,
yeah,
would you move?
I move to deny that, or to accept the staff's recommendation. Deny.
The inverse.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Next one is amended state constitution to establish a code of ethics enforced by an independently appointed commission. I'm sorry, Glenn.
I said I could have sworn that's where we were.
You're right.
I was just going to make the point, the public officers law section 74 is titled State Code of Ethics.
Move to deny.
Second.
Accepting staff recommendation and denying the request. Amend the state constitution to establish a code of ethics enforced by an independently appointed commission. But this is the same one, basically. It's
Deny.
Yeah. This is from different, this is from NIPER, the previous one was. No, it actually was, it was just repeated. Next, one, prohibit any elected official from being appointed to the commission. That's already applied, right?
That's already the law.
Move to deny. It's moved.
Well, this is tied to the other one about disclosure statements,
Require electronic filing of disclosure statements.
which we already went
We already.
through.
Move to deny is moved.
That's important, right, or we are just,
Page 4, the next item, require members of the regional economic development council file disclosure statements and to be subject to FOIL, the open meetings law. We have that.
This would definitely require statutory action. Staff doesn't have a particular position on it.
Doesn't seem like the assembly does either. Move to deny.
Regional economic development council, either. Do they do anything with, do they make any reports to us?
No.
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 So we know, but I think we're probably not prepared to do this at this point.
right,
Maybe in the future we can look.
agree.
So we in agreement?
Yeah,
This is on, the Citizens Union.
the first, no, we have that.
We that Albany requires the regional economic development council to file disclosure statements.
At this point in
I
time,
don't meetings law.
Why am I missing that?
it's the first one on page 4. I mean, that's all, but
I'm sorry, it's the only one I paid for.
Yeah.
it's the only one.
Right, I should, that's the one I thought I was moving to deny.
Let's say, go to page 5. First item is from Citizens Union, City of New York. We examine the process of rendering advisory opinions.
This is done already.
We already did that with,
Do that.
Next one is from Cheryl Arnham. Ninth, that's all, I can't remember.
I believe she's,
I think she's an individual.
Was she the college professor?
Oh, yeah, maybe she was. She might have been.
Amend the public officers law to give colleague authority over public agency approval of outside activities.
Staff proposes this proposal. We think the agencies should definitely be involved in approving outside activities, at least in the first instance. They have the best knowledge of the employee's work, and they can do the analysis in the first instance of any potential conflict between the employee's duties and the outside activity.
I believe it. Yeah, second.
Okay, so we're in agreement that we're not going to accept that request.
Yeah, and there's a letter.
We will accept the staff's recommendation.
Yeah.
Next item, periodic audit review agency outside activity approvals.
Yeah, that's
Another proposal we don't support.
move to deny.
right.
In agreement? Next, develop regulations to protect confidentiality of outside activity related information. It is personal information.
We already did that though.
Requests for, approval of an outside activity are already confidential under section 94.
Deny, move to deny is moved.
Second.
We're academic.
All right,
Let me ask, is it confidential at the agency level or only at?
That's a good question. It's definitely confidential at our level, but at the agency level, I'm not sure if there's a statute that covers that.
Don't control the agency, so.
Right.
right, so that really wouldn't be within our jurisdiction.
Right,
At some level also, I think if a state employee has an outside activity, it shouldn't necessarily be completely confidential. It's so, that's another reason not to support her.
I like this one.
Amend the FDF to include disclosure of cryptocurrency holdings.
well, that's been done already, I shouldn't say, but.
So this bill was passed at both houses. My most recent information is that it hasn't been sent to the governor yet.
Why would you need that separate? Cryptocurrency is an asset that has to be disclosed.
We've required the disclosure of cryptocurrency under our own interpretation of national security, but this would make it official.
And it's a much broader, more nuanced definition of
That's right.
Yeah.
cryptocurrency.
So there's really nothing for us to do on that. Move to deny.
Everybody agreement on that? The next one is amend the state ethics code to prohibit harassment and discrimination explicitly. Senate 8420, what's that, what does that say, Michael?
That's, we believe this would require statutory, change. And I mean, our position is that harassment and discrimination are already covered by section 74. And discrimination is covered by a number of different statutes.
74 of the public officers law.
Including,
All right, I would move to deny.
It's already, just what we're saying is.
We haven't developed our legislative agenda yet. We, ethics agencies have in the past proposed more explicit conferring of jurisdiction over those kinds of claims. Or a clarification if you.
So Harriman is Carly covered? No. Harriman covered, Carly covered.
Our absolute position is that is within our jurisdiction, but that's not to say we don't have challenges that we've received, and therefore, it would be well to have.
Maybe this is something legislation, so we'll refer to legislative. Let me take a second and see what we refer to legal that I think we've already done.
We were the secondary committee on a number of items.
Right.
Get to go. Let me know when you're ready, Len. I know you want to. Look at what we're doing.
All right, this a different set. Here. Just 1 second, it's gotta be over here. All right. Which one? The three that we sent the legal, whether or not we've done it right. With legal. That was number 12 this morning. Post candidate disclosure. Refer that to legislative priorities. That's done. That would be the NIPERG. Page 1. Post candidate disclosures online. On Commission website. It's somewhat the same as number 12. So I would think that they fall into the same category for legislative referral. Dr. Seymour, do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. The candidate filing should be made available publicly on the commission website. And again, that falls into that same category that we did with number 12. So I would say that's already been referred. And then the last one is required disclosure statements from candidates for statewide office of the legislature be posted on our website. Again, same as number 12. That's for just legislators, but I think we did that.
Legislative and candidates. Oh, the legislative.
That's the legislature. So, all right, I'm going to suggest that we just refer that to legislation also because it really all falls into the same bailiwick. So, so those three are no longer referred to legal, but rather referred to our legislative priorities.
What's, I don't have the sheet you have with them.
No, I'm working with the same sheet that you have.
Yeah. I put
So,
more resi-
so if you go to the fourth one, Seymour,
Okay.
NIPERG, post candidate disclosures after that big gap up near the top. That one. And then the second one after that, candidate filings, not just incumbents.
Right, okay.
And then the one immediately after that, required disclosure statements from candidates for statewide office. And we handled that from number 12 this morning.
Oh,
You know, in one way, shape, or form. So it's really consistent with just referring them to the legislative priorities.
those are communication items. How did,
Because
how would it, okay,
basically, that's what we covered in the legal anyway.
all right.
So I think with us or without us. So if I may, then with regard to those three that we just mentioned, I would move instead of referring them to legal, that we refer them to legislative priorities.
Second.
All right, so then, so let's go to our secondary committee, secondary committee. Education, this is on page 2. From the New York State Board of Elections grant. Ethics officers greater flexibility in editing the model trained to needs of a specific agency. How ethics officers are ever moving forward. So what's needed. I don't remember I don't know what position. Are you on the training committee?
I am not, no.
What is, which number are you on?
It's on page 2, one page, the 5th item.
Where this is the second.
Or unless you conferred with.
Let me know what it's.
We should let, there are the prime one.
I believe education opposes these proposals. There's already a streamlined online training in place. And we oppose allowing ethics officers to take out so-called optional slides. We don't agree that any of them are optional. They might, I don't think we would object if they added slides on matters that are, specific to their agency.
Particularly using examples that are relevant.
But we don't support, shortening them any further than they already have been.
I know, I think there had been some discussion. I spoke, but there had been some discussion of certain things that they had to include.
Yes.
So there might be some flexibility there, is that right? That's it.
I think that was already.
There is a version, there are two versions now, because of the broader workforce that we're dealing with. There's a version, the original robust version is somewhat smaller because of the reduced time requirements. So there is, and then there's a condensed version of it for the general working population.
Could be supplemented. The next one, design a streamlined training perfectly under 1 hour, particularly for general employees, and allow every fellow to swap out optional slides.
Same position.
Okay.
Yeah, if the education committee's already rejected it, we just defer.
Yeah, we want to.
You're saying they reject?
Well, they've adopted it in part by having an alternative version for the general workforce, but they're not supporting arbitrary removal or addition of slides.
Yeah, next item is a main law to allow use of online CETC training course to replace live online course to the Board of Elections.
Legislative, that's like, because.
The statute is written as it is, requires live online. So like this, absent exceptional circumstances, we don't support an exception to that.
The next one was prohibit outside income from statewide elected officials. Legal committee.
We dealt with that this morning.
Yeah.
I think we referred that to the legislative package. Number 3, we referred that, we denied that 7. Actually, 9-0. Actually, 9-0.
Not 7-0.
Like I said, this reason I went below.
Same reason I did.
Next one is another one, there's another legal committee, so I'm glad we have you here. And penalties for violations of petition provisions in the state code of ethics.
We have that, we dealt with that this morning. We're recommending that to legislative analysis. Potential proposed legislation.
And next one's amend the state ethics code to include a duty to report misconduct.
We dealt with that this morning. Also made that referral.
Like the lobbying committee has mentioned. Use the open data portal, AG's report for Executive Order 95, 2013.
The lobbying group has been working with OpenNY and ITS to put all the lobbying data on OpenNY, largest data set OpenNY has ever encountered, and it should be available shortly. At least timing is, it's a big deal transferring that much data.
It's the largest database in the state, larger than the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Wow.
Should use that for jury polls.
The next item, we're ready, section 8. Yeah,
What page are we on?
I don't see any others.
Yes.
Thank you for staying late today.
The least we could do. To adjourn and refer given items on the agenda to the next meeting.
Right, yeah.
They are.
I'll second that.
I knew you would.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.